Lux is one of the most iconic champions in League of Legends. Her simple, high damage kit is easy to pick up and comes with a huge array of gorgeous skins that make her the poster champion for e-girls across League of Legends. When it comes to Lux's competitive viability though, there really hasn't been much in the history of Lux. Although she sometimes sees play as a support thanks to her range and easy shielding, her mid lane play is nearly non-existent. In the entire history of competitive League of Legends, she has only been played as a mid laner 13 times throughout professional games. The problem with Lux is very simple. High elo players can dodge skill shots. Lux's skill shots are really easy to dodge, therefore Lux is really useless when you don't hit her skill shots. That's why it's so rare for anyone to hit Challenger playing only Lux. High elo players across all regions are very good at dodging Lux abilities. But today we talk to the number one Lux. Now he was not only able to hit Challenger twice this season with 1k LP, but he has 10 different ways to make sure that he hits all of his skill shots.
Hello, my name is Yozu. I'm a Lux 1-trick and high Challenger. I have hit Challenger with Lux every season for the last 4 years. I play Lux mostly mid lane, but I also do play her support, as well as APC from time to time. I was the first to hit Masters in less than 13 hours on the first day of Season 12, and I currently have 2 Challenger accounts sitting above 1k LP this season. Lux to me is the Darius of mid lane, but as a range mage. I play her super aggressively with early game runes, and I also take Ignite and look for solo kills as early as level 2. I'm not scared to take on 1v2s whenever I'm ganked because people tend to underestimate how strong Lux can be early game. This playstyle tends to make me a priority target by the enemy jungler and support, so I do get camped quite often.
Lux can be a difficult champion to climb with. Many players find her difficult to play in solo queue without a full team behind her to support her, firing off damage from the back. Staying safe on Lux can be difficult, even for the number one Lux in the world. It's almost as hard as learning computer science by yourself. But when you have Brilliant, things get a lot easier. Brilliant is a math science coding teacher that offers interactive courses with a wide variety of topics. For just a few bucks a month, Brilliant's fun challenges keep you engaged throughout all of the difficult problems and fundamentals of STEM. The best part about Brilliant is how easily you can run it. Built to be like a quick game of ARAM, you can knock out a course and learn something new within just 10 to 20 minutes. To try everything Brilliant has to offer free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/Donghuaplol or click on the link in the description. The first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Lux's combo is pretty simple to anyone who's ever watched any part of it. QER. You hit the root and you hit everything else. But Lux's Q travels fairly slowly and it's very telegraphed when fired off. So how does Yozu hit this garbage ability that's super slow, super easy to read, and doesn't pass through more than one minion? The answer is not easily. But Yozu has 10 different ways of making sure that he's able to hit his Q in various situations, and we will be discussing all of them throughout the video.
Lux's early game is pretty strong and easy. You don't want to shove and roam as her wave clear isn't that good until level 9. Most players tend to just sit and farm and hope their spells land during team fights, but for me I contest every CS when my E's up and pretty much just poke them until they're low enough. And that's when I usually look to go for solo kills with the Q flash, auto attack, ignite combo. People don't really expect it if you're positioning correctly, and the burst is really high.
This is the first method of hitting Lux Q. It's the hardest to pull off because it's in the laning phase. Lux has a very obvious windup when it comes to her Q, so it's really easy to see when somebody is about to fire it off. Lux's binding can only hit up to a max of 2 people, so Yozu winds it up, makes it look like he's aiming the Q towards the minions, hits the first pass through a single minion, and the second pass through is able to root his enemy. While this method isn't perfect, it's surprisingly effective for how simple it is. For whatever reason, a lot of players just don't see the second one and think about it and continue on their standard pathing without trying to dodge. It's as if they think there's going to be a second minion in the way of the Q and they're never going to get hit.
When it comes to laning, hitting your E is actually pretty easy. All you need to do is wait until the enemy is just about to last hit a minion, and then you instantly want to react by throwing your E at them. Since they're auto attacking, they're locked from moving because of the auto attack animation, and that gives them barely a fraction of a second to react. The only way someone can dodge the E is if they cancel their auto attack and sidestep it, but if they do, they'll still miss a CS, and you pretty much win in that situation no matter what, as long as you time your E right. I would say your Q and R are the hardest things to learn for Lux, so Most of the time you want to lend those as fill up to CC if you don't think you can hit them. If you have to lend your Q without CC, open up with your E first to slow them, and that'll make your Q much easier to lend. But overall, lending skill shots is all about learning how players move and react based off of your movement. It's kind of hard to explain, but reading movement to dodge or lend spells is a completely different game in my opinion, and is something you get better at the more you play the game. Once you hit level 6, your burst should be Q auto attack, ER auto attack. That's Lux's highest damage combo as it procs all 3 passives. And you just want to make sure to use this when the enemy doesn't have much tenacity and they're quite healthy. Obviously Lux has some tough matchups, so you can't do this every game. Against harder matchups, you can make sure to hold the wave closer to your tower and focus on CSing while poking from afar. Lux's kit shines during team fights, so even if you don't get anything early, as long as you group up with your team mid-game, you can carry fights on your own. Once you hit level 9, this is when Lux can actually one-shot casters with her E and push waves pretty fast. And this is when you can start shoving and go for plays around the map.
Slowing with Lux's E is the most common way to land your Q. Method 2 is probably the simplest way to hit her abilities. But the most effective way that Yozu gets kills within his lane is through a Fog of War Q. If you can see Lux's position and you can see her animation for her Q, it's really easy to preemptively sidestep the skill shot. But every single game, Yozu shoves the wave in, then sits in a specific spot depending on where the enemy jungler is. A Q coming in from Fog of War is nearly impossible to dodge for most regular players. This same method can be applied if the enemy champion is out farming and you can sit in a different spot to throw Qs from lane Fog of War as well. Method 3 takes a lot more patience, but can win you the laning phase if done right. As for assassins who will constantly jump on Lux through the laning phase, the only real way to consistently hit Q on them is through prediction. Most assassins have some sort of dash ability that allows them to dodge Q. Yozu often predicts where the enemy assassins will end up thanks to his game knowledge and throws a Q at the end of an assassin's dash, such as Zed ultimate or Kali dash. Although this method is a lot harder to pull off than the rest, if you want to be the number 1 Lux, method number 4 for hitting your Q is vital in these tough matchups. Assassins are known for roaming, and Lux is not a champion with that sort of identity. But since Lux has a lot of wave clear, Yozu does have a lot of windows in order to be able to go bot lane. In situations where he does go bot lane and the enemy laners are overextended, he will often set down his E first as a zoning tool to force enemy champions into certain positions. That way they'll be forced to walk to a certain spot, get hit with Q, and get annihilated with ult. Method 5 doesn't allow you to hit your full combo, but during this point in the game you should have enough damage and should have enough help to be able to kill them anyway.
Something I like to do is also start fights on my own by baiting people into thinking I'm in a bad position and then just R-flash them. I actually was the one that made it so it's possible to flash while ulting on Lux, and I think it's pretty cool, and it gives Lux just a tiny bit more skill expression and counterplay. R-flash pretty much allows you to reposition yourself in a better spot while also baiting the enemy into getting into a bad position.
Baiting with your own champion can be difficult and very risky. A lower risk version of this is to use wards instead. This is the method number 6. Use pinks not only to scout for vision, but also set up picks against the enemies. Pinks are the easiest way to do it because they have to be hit 4 times. But if you know where the enemy is and you know they're close by, you can also accomplish this with a blue trinket as well. You want the blue trinket to scout the actual enemy player first so you can see them. Since you're only going to be able to have one shot to hit your Q, method 7 is a lot harder to pull off than method 6, but it is also a lot more satisfying to pull off.
This is where a lot of players usually don't know what to do. Your bot lane moves mid and you don't really want a side lane. Here, I usually check the state of the game and press tab and just see who needs to be in the team fight first. If my bot lane is stronger than me, then I usually let them mid and catch waves in the side lane. However, if I'm stronger than them, then I usually just stay mid lane and shove and look for picks. Easy way to tell your ADC to catch side lane instead of sitting mid is just to ult the wave, so they don't really have a choice to go side lane. But no matter what, you want to make sure to just not fight whenever you're in side lane and just shove waves and group up with your team right after, because Lux's biggest strength is definitely her ability to team fight.
If someone is split pushing and you need to stop them, Lux is a really bad champion to do that. No mobility, no safety, and very low base stats. So you can't just stay in lane and try to survive. Method 8 requires a lot of patience, and while many mages instinctively go for every single CS they see, waiting until the enemy feels completely safe to the point that they've just stopped moving and are just hitting the tower, Method 8 is the most surefire way to hit your Q in the late game.
For late game, this is when you need to be with your team no matter what. I usually don't care about CS anymore, and I just make sure to be present in fights if it happens. At this point, I have enough EP to overkill most carries, so I like to fish for picks with ER combo. It's a bit harder to land than just QER, but it's definitely more rewarding, and players usually never expect the damage. ER is my favorite combo because it's quick and safe, which means people don't have that much time to react. Late game team fights, I want to make sure to hold choke points with E when taking down objectives and play super far away. Like your AD carry, identify what can shut you down and respect your ranges and flanks. If a carry ever walks on my E while I'm holding it, I just follow up with an R and they usually die instantly. You can also land your E on a wall or in a bush so they can't see it, and it's pretty much like a trap. And like I said, if they ever walk on it, you just follow up with R and it's a guaranteed one shot. While I'm doing this, I'll also make sure to hit as many allies as I can with my W, because by then your shield is as strong, if not stronger, than most enchanters since you have a lot of AP. But yeah, for late game, basically just play team fights super slow, look at your surroundings, and prioritize carries while still pilling yours.
Your W isn't just good for shielding, it's good for your Q as well. Lux has so many skins at this point that most people cannot tell the difference between her animations and other champions anymore. By throwing W and Q at the same time, you can sort of hide the animation of Lux's Q by layering it with the shield. Method 9 doesn't really work that well in early game skirmishes because it's a lot easier to see, but in a big team fight with lots of things being thrown around, it's sure as hell easy to hit in a late game scenario.
If you're tired of bot diff and want to play a champion that can one-shot ADCs no matter how strong they are, is a lane bully early game and still scales really hard late game, all of that while also getting a new skin every month, then I would say Lux is the perfect champ for you. As long as you can hit your skill shots, you can easily carry your solo queue games on your own.
And finally, Method 10 for hitting Q is the most difficult and challenging one of them all. Practice and get good.